to talk about data analytics, right? So, what is data analytics and what we have in store for you, right, as a course, and how we will proceed further. Okay. And before that, just to give a quick introduction about myself. So, my name is Santosh, and I have around 19 years of IT experience. And I have been predominantly a data guy right from the beginning of my career. Was working on on-premises system, built a lot of data warehouses, data lakes, worked as database admins, and as time progressed, as technologies evolved, so I am completely focused around cloud technologies, again on database, be it AWS or Azure. I've implemented a lot of projects where we use a Redshift and then Azure Synapse Analytics, which is a product from Microsoft. So yeah, and I believe in continuous learning. So a lot of certifications I have done. So the certification of interest for you could be like a data analytics specialty. They have phased it out, I think, recently, and they have replaced it with a data engineer associate certification, AWS certified. So whatever you see, like these are specialty level certifications from AWS, the database specialty, data analytics, and machine learning specialty. All these advanced level certifications from AWS as well as from Azure I do have, and also as people technologies evolving, and we are supposed to be knowing about generative AI and all. So I am working on few POCs which involves agentic AI, and on that I also have certifications from Databricks on as a generative AI engineer associate. Right. So yeah, this is about myself. Quick introduction. When I also the role which I play currently is of an enterprise architect, where I'm doing a lot of solutioning, a lot of pre-sales activities, and there we also need to pitch in to our customers, wherein we deliver solutions, but at the same time the solution needs to be sustainable in terms of carbon emissions, in terms of environment, like ecosystems, and also I do hold a diploma on sustainability from Stanford University, and this helps me pro- propose solutions where we have sustainability aspect also aligned to it. Okay, and recently I just did a Power BI data analytics associate certification a few months back, and when we'll discuss about Power BI, I'll talk about how you can approach for this certification as well. So I'm a Power BI data analyst associate as well. All right. So going ahead, right? Today we'll talk about what is data analytics, practical use cases. So I get questions like which all domains is where we can use data analytics, and I say, of course, almost any domain which is looking for um, feedback about their business, and I don't think there is anyone which doesn't look for feedback about their business, right? So they need to use data analytics. That's how you know get to know how your business is performing, how uh, the different KPIs are, right? So a lot of use cases around data analytics, and then what tools we use across industry, right? And then how we can build impactful graphs. So like a couple of pointers around that. But yes, as we proceed further, we'll do a further deep dive onto all these technologies. Okay, so what is data analytics predominantly? Okay, give me a moment. I'll just pull up a final end product which I deliver, and then just give me one moment. I'll just bring it up from my screen. I'm just stopping the screen share for a moment. What essentially we deliver to our end users, right? When we say data analytics, what essentially we deliver? Just let me bring up a report. That is the final end product which we deliver. Okay, give me one moment. It is just popping up. So this is the UI for Power BI. Okay, so Power BI is what we'll do later on. So the end product which you deliver as a data analyst, right, is a report, right? This is a report which needs to be probably scheduled. It needs to go every day at 9 a.m. Eastern time, or maybe a weekly report, a monthly, whatever it is. So the frequency is what we can tweak upon. But this is the end product which we deliver to our customer. As a data analyst, we are required to prepare a report which will have multiple KPIs, right? So here we talk about the overall revenue, and then how many opportunities which we had, and how many we cracked across region, right? What are the pipelines we have. Then if you want to drill down to a particular region, right, you can do those drill down. If you want to see the total revenue by month, right, these all can be done. If you want to have a detailed look, you can have a detailed view where we see all the details at a very granular level, right? So our end goal as a data analyst is to help our businesses with these report, so that they can take informed decisions, right? And these can also be done in Excel, right? You can get a dump of data and it can be done in Excel. But what these reporting tools help us to make the reports more dynamic, right? You can have a lot of slicers, dicers. Like if you see, this is one kind of filter. If I just want to see for a particular product, right? Let's say for a particular product. So you get the data corresponding to that particular product only, right? We can have slices, which we'll see there later, that if you want to just shorten your timeline just to 1 month, right, or just for 1 quarter, right, all those kind of dynamism can be added to your reports with the help of different tools. So your end product or end goal is to prepare a report. Now the report could be in the form the way you see on your screen right now. It could be a Power BI report. It could be as simple as an Excel where you generate um, some reports, some graphs, and you share it with your users. Or it can be an output of a Python script, right? You develop some output, and then you can get those charts coming out from Power BI and from Python, and you can put it in a PowerPoint presentation and share across. So there are different ways in which you can present your KPIs, what we call as key performance indicators, to the users. But the tools can be different, but the end product is what you deliver to the customer is a report, right? Report could be in the form of Power BI report, it could be Excel, it could be PowerPoint, anything, right? So our end product would be a report to be furnished to the customer. Now, how do we arrive at that goal, right? That's what the entire journey of a data analyst is all about. How do you help your customers to view a report, something like this is your end product which you deliver, right? And this is where, if I go back to my slides, why data analytics, right? Because data analytics help our businesses to take informed decisions. Okay, decisions are not taken based on instincts. Decisions are taken based upon the numbers which we provide, and we all know like that. Decisions taken based upon instinct. I'll give you a small analogy, or like a small example. Like suppose there is a retail chain, or let's say a woolen cloth chain. Okay, and if I just talk about India, for example, you have a woolen cloth chain who are doing remarkably good in the northern part. Okay, in northern part you have harsh winters and the climate dips a lot. So there's a woolen cloth chain who is doing remarkably good in the northern part. Now, just because they are doing good in northern region, what they do is that they venture out in the southern region as well, and they opened up multiple stores just because they were doing really good, and they, or let me put it this way, how will the customer response be? Will there be a same response as we had in the northern part, or will that be different? You can put your answers also on the chat window. We have a woolen cloth chain who's doing remarkably good in the northern part, and just because they were doing good in the northern region, they ventured out and opened up multiple stores in the southern part. Will the ROI be same as what they were doing in the northern part? Will the customer response be same, or how it be? may or may not, right? Any other answers? There are different patterns or there are different aspects which you need to look at, right? The customer demographic, the customer buying pattern. The winters are not as harsh in southern as it is in northern part, right? So probably the demand would be less. So you'll have to have a team who can guide you in the different aspects before you venture out, right? You need to take informed decisions, and that's where we as data analysts help businesses to take informed decisions, numbers which are backed by statistics, numbers which are backed by key facts, rather than taking decisions based on instincts, right? That's the most important key aspect of data analytics, right? It helps us to identify trends. For example, if you look into this particular report, right, um, there's a dip in the revenue from January to June, right? So what is the reason for that dip, right? So once you prepare these numbers, you will have our domain experts, we'll have our functional analyst who will get on calls with the business team, and they can chalk out the reasons that okay, these are the reasons why there is a dip in your revenue over these few months, and what could be done to improve those sales, right? So the root cause analysis or the deep dive analysis would be kicked off only when you have these numbers in place, and we as data analysts help furnish these numbers, right? That's where you study these trends, patterns, and then you do your deep dive analysis on what could be done to improve them. Correct. So, of course, once you have taken informed decisions, once you have identified patterns, trends, and all, then it obviously your business take corrective actions, they take optimized actions which help them to improve their overall return on the investment, and the overall process also improves, right? So the end product is a report, and what value we add by helping our businesses to take informed decisions, we help them improve upon their overall process. And of course, overall process, if it is optimized, it will definitely show up in your numbers, right? So this is the end product which you deliver, and these are the values which we add as a data analyst. Now, as a data analyst, the first key aspect is to collect the data, right? When I start off, the first thing which I do in my session is to share the sample resume of a data analyst. Okay, generally we have these resume preparation and these mock interviews at the end, but how I take it up is the resume is shared in the very first session. Okay, when we start off, and there I show up what are the key terms which needs to be there in your resume as a data analyst. And one key factor which is there is a collaboration, that how do we collaborate with different stakeholders. So as I'm also part of my firm's recruitment panel, so there is a very subtle difference between people who are trained in a specific technology and people who have worked on a specific technology, right? So training you can do, you can you are here to be trained, and you can go through different e-learning courses and you can get trained. Training is uh, one aspect of it, but me as an interviewer, when I take interviews, along with being trained, along with having that subject matter expertise, right, I'll also look whether the candidate is also equipped with the project experience, has the person worked on a project or not, right? And that's where when I share the resume, the keywords out there, each keyword which I'll be sharing does have a specific meaning, and that's where we have a term called collaborate collaboration with multiple stakeholders. And what you see on the screen, why I'm talking about collaboration and all, because whatever you see on your screen, right, data collection, data cleansing, data analysis, interpretation, all these are not just what a data analyst does, right? You are working as a team, and there are few aspects out here where you are not the sole responsible person for this, right? But you work in collaboration with multiple stakeholders. We'll see the entire life cycle of data analytics project and all in our detailed sessions. But when we say about data collection, right? Data collection is where you have a team of data engineers who are also onboarded, okay, and they are supposed to plug into different data sources and build ETL pipelines. See, if you take an example of a report, right? A report, a retail report where you need to publish at a countrywide the total sales, right? How do you get countrywide total sales? All the sales which are happening at each store that needs to be collated. You, for example, let's say you have 10 different retail outlets for Walmart in a particular country, right? All the sales detail, all the transactions which have happened in these 10 different stores, they need to be consolidated, they need to be collated and brought into a single place from where we can do the reporting, right? So this data collection, this consolidation of data, this collating data from multiple sources is what is termed as data collection. And this is where your data engineering team gets onboarded. There's a profile called data engineer who plug into these different data sources, collate the data, make those necessary cleansing, transformation, all those, and then the data which is finally available for us is the cleansed data which will be used for data analysis. Okay, when we work in IT project or when we work as a data analyst, we often talk about a terminology called as a medallion architecture. Okay, so if I just take up an Excel, give me a moment. Okay, we have something called as a medallion architecture. Okay, and these are keywords which you need to use in your introductory page or in your interviews. So these help our interviews, or it helps to create a perception that yes, along with being trained in a specific technology, you also have worked, because when you use project specific terms, it gives an it gives a confidence to the interviewer that yes, you have worked on projects too. So if you say that okay, I was involved in implementing a medallion architecture, what does it mean, right? So the word looks kind of a complicated word, but when you dig down further, medallion architecture is all about implementing a solution where you have three different layers. Okay, one we call as a bronze layer. Okay, then you have something called as a silver layer. Okay, and then there's another layer which is called as a gold layer. Okay, now what are these, or what are the significance of these layers? Suppose you've done a transaction, okay, and your transactions are captured at a point of sale. You went into a retail store, you did your transactions, and your transactions are captured something like this, like you have a customer name, okay, and let's see, you have a customer ID for first, customer name, and amount spent. Assume you have amount spent, and let's say you have a date of birth field also. Okay, now I'll just take one sample example record here. Let's say the customer name is one, customer ID is 101, and when the guy at the billing counter, he was keying in the customer name, mm, maybe he did some typographical error, and he, instead of just typing in the name Adam, he typed it something like this, that Adam along with few let's say junk characters. Okay, let's say these junk characters are introduced. It's just a typographical error. Okay, and then amount spent, I'll just keep it some random data, $150, and the date of birth is, let's say, 2nd July 1985, for example. Okay, now this is the data which is present in your bronze layer. Bronze layer is a layer where the data would be as is how it is captured at your point of sale, right? Now, if I think from a reporting perspective, okay, business told that, okay, give me all the customers who have done transactions on, let's say you also have a date of transaction. Okay, date of birth is there and date of transaction is also present. Okay, and the transaction date is, let's say 20th October 25. Okay, now when we say a bronze layer, it has a data something like this, right? And we know our end product is what? End product is to prepare a report, right? And assume that you are told by your business users that they need the name of all the customers who have done a transaction on 20th October, right? So you cannot give them a name which have these junk characters. It should be just Adam, right? So this is where you have a silver layer in place, wherein your data engineers will be doing some data cleansing and assume one more part is there, like they'll do some data cleansing wherein they'll remove these junk characters and assume this particular transaction was entered twice. Okay, let's say the billing guy did some mistake or there was some system glitch and this particular transaction was entered twice, right? So when you move further, when you put it in your report, it shouldn't be counted as two numbers, right? Otherwise it will show that, okay, customer added, he did a transaction worth $300, which is not the correct number, right? It's just 150, right? So silver layer is where we do data cleansing and basic data quality checks. Okay, which means data cleansing would be this part wherein the junk characters in your name gets removed, and data quality check is where duplicates are also eliminated. So you have your data engineers who will be building ETL pipelines. They use different tools like if you say on premise, you have Informatica, Talent, all these are ETL tool which help in doing this data cleansing and data quality checks. If you talk about cloud, you have, if I talk about AWS, you have Glue, which is a service from AWS, which helps us to do this data cleansing, which is just an ETL tool. Similarly, if you talk about Azure, you have something called as Azure Data Factory, which help us to achieve this functionality. So basically, in the silver layer, you do data cleansing and basic data quality checks, and then we move to a gold layer where we keep transformed and curated data. Okay, what does it mean? Suppose you have this data in your silver layer, right? Now business told that in my target table or in my report, I do not need a date of birth. What I'm effectively doing is I'm doing a age specific campaign marketing, and I want age of customer to be displayed in my report so that I can group them based upon different age group, and then I can do direct marketing to that particular age group. Because see, a product which you are marketing to an age group of 20 to 30, the same product might not be of much relevance to an age group of 50 to 60, right? So more often than not, the retailers, they target age group, right, rather than date of birth. But from these source table or from the source, we have captured a date of birth. So business told that, okay, what I need in my target is not just the date of birth, what I need is an age. Okay, so this is called as a transformation, the date of birth to age calculation, right? So you have a customer 101, the data, the name gets cleansed, it's now Adam, the age is now, let's say, 40. Okay, because the transformation is done in your silver layer, you had a date of birth, now it becomes age here, and the date of transaction is present here. Assume business told us to do another transformation, that okay, I do not want the amount spent in my target table. For some reason, business told that they do not want amount spent in the target table. What they need is an amount flag. Okay, or they want a spend flag. or a spend indicator. Okay, and they told us the rule as well. The rule to be followed is that, let's say, if the amount spent, okay, is less than 100, the indicator should be showing up as low spend, okay, or else high spend. Okay, so it means that in your goal layer, when the data gets populated, the spend indicator should be marked as high spend. Okay, you do not see the amount spent, they want a high spend, or maybe along with the amount spent, they also want the the spend indicator as well to be present in the gold layer, right? So you see, in the bronze layer, you get the data as it is entered in your point of sale. Then you see in the silver layer, you have some basic data cleansing and data quality checks done. And in the gold layer, you have the final curated data. Okay, now why am I talking about this? Because this is the layer from where we as data analyst will be consuming the data. Okay, we'll be plugging our reports, or we'll be plugging our Power BI sources or our Python scripts to this gold layer data. Our job will start from the gold layer. But at the same time, is it important for you to know about this? Yes, because you are involved right from the beginning of the project, right? You need to know the entire life cycle of the project. So implementation of Medallion architecture is the role of a data architects and the data engineer, but how it is implemented, right, is something which you definitely need to know. And this is where you can map it back to data collection and data cleansing, right? So once the data is collected into your bronze layer, once the data is cleansed in your silver layer, and the different transfer, you can see data cleansing ensures the quality of the data set by removing inaccuracies, duplicates, irrelevant information. All these are removed, and then the final data which is present in your gold layer, what we in project terminology call it as a curated data, is where your data analytics starts. Okay, and that's where you use different technologies or different tools like Python, Power BI, or SQLs, right? SQL is the, you can say, the most basic thing which you need to know. So all those terminology, all these tools you use, and then you finally prepare your report. Once the reports are prepared, then we work in collaboration with our domain experts, with our business analysts, and then we help our business to interpret that data, right? So your job is to prepare that report, and then you collaborate with those functional experts and the domain experts who will interpret the result, and then they will recommend that, okay, these are the actionable insights which the businesses should consider, f- because we are there to provide recommendations, right? Consultants, we are consultants to provide them recommendation that, hey, look, this is how your data shows up, these are the best practices which which we recommend. Now it's up to you to go ahead and implement them, right? And if they implement, it can help them to improve upon their overall process, improve upon their overall numbers, and eventually your return on the investment, the ROI, right? So our job is to take up the curated data and then go ahead and build the reports out of it. All right. Now, the different types of data analytics, was the first and the foremost is the descriptive analytics. Okay. Descriptive analytics is where you know the data. For example, if I go back to my report, if you look into total revenue, or let's say total opportunity count by month, right? So total revenue is something which you can get it from the database, which means you have some sales data. Let's say you have a table which is a sales table, wherein you have all customer sales information, right? So from there you can just do a sum and you can get the total revenue generated, right? Which means the data is already present in your database, and that's what is called as descriptive analytics. And where you'll understand it better is when I talk about predictive analytics. Predictive analytics is where you are predicting something which can happen in future, right? You do not have that data, exact data in your database, because it's a prediction, right? You have predicting something which can happen in future. So that's where it is called predictive analytics. For example, if you're told that, okay, give me the list of customers who might potentially leave me and go to my competitor in the next 3 months, right? Let's say the same customer one not one. What is the probability that this customer might leave me and go to my competitor in the next 3 months? If I know this information beforehand, let's say if I have a customer base of 1,000 customers, and if I know beforehand that, okay, out of this 1,000 customers, these are the 100 customers who might potentially leave me and go to my competitor in the next 3 months, then I can plan the retention strategies accordingly. Right? So these are called predictive analytics, where you look at your historical data and then you forecast what can happen in future. And that's where we have this linear regression models, these decision trees, right? We'll discuss a lot about these models and all. So these help us to predict future. If you take this modern day, like what do you say, clash or uh, common use terminology, like your chat gpts, right? What are these? These are models, right? They have been trained on internet scale data, so they know a lot about, you ask a question and they answer it back, right? So the core fundamental of all these chat gpts and the openai and whatever we are using nowadays is based on the fundamentals of predictive analytics. How you create a model, right? How you train the model. See, if you talk about chat gpt, it's not something which has come out of the blue, right? It's not something which is very new technology. We were using it. We were building predictive models for our customers 10 years back also, right? All what we have done recently is that we have built a beautiful ui on top of it, that okay, you key in a question and it gives an answer, right? And we have generalized all those. So when we proceed further in our course, you'll see that how we create predictive models, right? And these can be extrapolated, and it can also be like visualize that it's the same way how your chat gpt works, right? So predictive analytics is where you predict future. Descriptive analytics is where the numbers are already in your database. It's just that you are giving those numbers to your users in a more readable format. You cannot point them to a sql database, right? That okay, this is a database, query it yourself and get the output. No, because they're non-technical guys, right? We help to prepare reports, right? We create reports, and it's easy for them to visualize a report, right? To look at the numbers rather than going back and looking at the database, right? So that's where descriptive analytics are all about presenting the numbers which are already there in your databases, and predictive is all about predicting what can happen in the future. And of course, you have something like diagnostic and prescriptive, which we'll discuss in like once you have your reports ready, and then we prescribe that okay, this is how you're doing stuffs. Yeah, you should do it in slightly in a different way. So these are the prescriptions which we give it to our customers once the reports are prepared. So we'll talk about all these descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive report analytics a lot. But the two key fundamentals, what where we'll be emphasizing a lot, would be descriptive and predictive analytics. Okay. Yeah, there are a lot of practical use cases we'll discuss in detail, like be it healthcare domain, be it retail. Retail is where we use a lot of data analytics, right? So we'll have our case studies and projects, which will also be in the retail domain and also in the finance domain. Finance domain is where a lot of fraud detection, risk management happens through data analytics and predictive analytics. So we'll see how we can build those risk models, right? That okay, let's say for example there are 10 applicants for loan, right? And you cannot approve loan for everybody, right? There are different parameters based upon which you can approve loans, right? Because otherwise they might default. So how do we create those risk model, right? Risk detection model, and which will eventually help to mitigate those fraud folks who have like applied for the loan, right? So all these we'll be discussing. So finance and the retail domain is where we'll be focusing predominantly, where we'll build model and we'll see how it impacts our customers, right? But there are questions as that okay, is data analyst is specific to which domain? And my answer would be it is specific to all domain. See, we all need feedback anywhere, right? Be it in school, be it in universities, be it in any business, we need to know how our businesses are performing. And for that, definitely you need a report card, right? And we as data analysts help to prepare those report cards, right? So any domain across industry will need data analysts to know about their business in a better way, right? So there are different use cases we'll be learning a lot. And then what tools we use across industry, right? So SQL and Python, right? Close to 20 years in industry, but still when I talk with my peers, we say that SQL and Python are our bread and butter, right? Tools like Power BI, earlier like I was working on business objects, then came Tableau, then now it's Power BI, right? Tools keep on changing, but what essentially is the thing which is constant across all these is these two technologies, SQL and Python. So we'll be devoting considerable amount of time in our we'll be starting from the basics, considering that people here could be from non-IT background also, or they do not have any exposure on SQL. So we'll start from the very basic level of SQLs, and then we'll go to the intermediate and the advanced level. What do you need from a data analyst perspective? Okay, and also for Python, whatever libraries, whatever basics to the advanced level you need to know from a data analyst perspective we'll be covering as Python. You'll have Jupyter notebooks installed on your machine, you'll have databases installed on your machines, and we'll be doing a lot of hands-on around SQL and Python. Okay, because in SQL you can do data analysis. Okay, you can create data sets, you can do those analytics, but the limitation of SQL is where you cannot prepare reports. Okay, you cannot have graphs generated out of SQL queries, right? That's where uh, Python helps. Python, whatever you're doing through SQL can be done through Python as well, and with an added functionality that it can help you to prepare graphs and reports as well. So we'll leverage a lot of Python and SQL in our course going ahead. And of course, we should also have knowledge on tools, visualization tools. So I'll also talk about Excel because there are some small data sets where businesses tell us that why we need a reporting tool. This can be done in Excel as well, right? So we'll do like hands-on on Excel, and then we'll also be doing on Power BI. Okay, so earlier in our previous courses we had like a Tableau, but mostly organizations are moving towards Power BI at the moment. Why? Because when I give solutions and when we add a cost for Tableau earlier, businesses told that okay, they have a Microsoft 365 suite, and there they have already purchased a license for Power BI. It comes as a package. So why do we need to spend extra for um, Tableau? And it's a very valid point, right? So that's where businesses started adopting Power BI as a reporting tool, and we have also tweaked our codes to have Power BI. Tableau and Power BI are like kind of similar reporting tools, but what we'll be focusing on our course would be Power BI. Okay, so Power BI, SQL, and Python. These three will be our predominant studies. Okay, and yeah, like how do we build impactful graph? There are a lot of different ways in which we can build impactful graph. Couple of points would be like, for example, if we are building something to show with respect to time, right? We build as you can, I'll go back to the report. You can see we build like trend lines, right? So rather than just having these bar charts, we can have trend lines there, right? If you need to show some segregation based on region, right? Rather than having a bar graph showing that thing, we can have a map, right? So that you give the customers option to drill down and see to a particular region. It makes it the UI more user friendly, right? It makes it more visually appealing, right? So for example, let's say you have 10 different segments. Okay, then we do not recommend to go for a pie chart because all the 10 different segments will club up, will make it more cluttered, right? If you have 10 different segments to be shown up, then you take up a bar chart or something else, right? But if you have just 3 to 4 segments to be shown, it makes sense to have a donut chart or a pie chart, right? So how we can build impactful graph, how it could be more visually appealing, all these we'll be discussing once you're ready to build those graphs, right? So yeah, the lot of things will be there in terms of how we can build impactful graphs and all. And yeah, so the best practices and etc. We'll be developing, like we'll be seeing. So yeah, this is about high level on what we have in store. Now, if you go back to the course, right, you might have also done that. If you look into the course curriculum, so it's a pretty exhaustive course. Like if you look into the course curriculum, so what is data analytics and all, like what I was talking about, right? Descriptive diagnostic and all those. So key tools will be using these. Now, data collection and cleansing, and then where we have a lot of how we can deal with different data formats. Pandas, right? Pandas is something which is a very basic in Python, which we need to know. So along with pandas, we'll be dealing with NumPy, we'll be dealing with matplotlib for our reporting requirement. And when it comes to predictive analytics, we'll be doing a lot of scikit-learn, and there are different packages which are available in Python. So we'll be doing all those. We'll be dealing with different file formats, like the data might not just come in a CSV format, right? It can come in a JSON format, or it can come in an unstructured way. So we'll be dealing with different file formats, and then we have something called as exploratory data analysis, right? So how do we detect outliers, right? How we detect uh, if let's say you're dealing with a data set which is in the age group of 20 to 40 years, and you suddenly see in the data set that there are few customers who are in the age group of, let's say, 12 or 15 maybe, like who are outliers, right? So how do we detect those outliers? So those are something which we discuss in our exploratory data analysis. And then of course we'll have SQL, and then data visualization using Power BI. Then we'll use a lot of like statistics, Python. So BI tool would be Power BI mostly. And then people who are like interested to pursue further certification on Power BI, right? So I I can help on that. So how we can prepare for PL300. PL300 is the code which we use for Power BI data analyst certification from Microsoft, right? So how you can prepare for that, because I've already done that, so I can help guide you on that as well. And then finally we'll be also talking about like machine learning. When we say, it's more about like predictive modeling, right? How we can predict future using these models like linear regression, decision trees, and clustering. How we do supervised and unsupervised learning. The libraries, as I told, we'll be using libraries like scikit-learn and all to do machine learning. Machine learning is where we work in collaboration with data scientists. So we'll be covering these topics out there. So how we can predict future. But as a data analyst, you're not like, if you say that okay, as a data analyst I have created a decision tree or a linear regression model, probably that is something which as a interviewer I'll not be accepting. So but if you say that okay, I have worked in collaboration with the data scientists and I have helped them create models, that is something which is a fact, and which can be believed easily, right? So how we can create. But yeah, if you know how we can create model, then definitely you can also say that yes, I have helped my data scientist on creating of these decision trees, all these predictive models which can help me to predict futures. And yes, alongside this we'll have a few projects in what we term as capstone project, which will help you to have that hands-on expertise on the data analyst thing. So yeah, this is the course which we have to offer. And of course, like, the resumes will be shared in the beginning, and we'll have mock interviews also at the end. So yeah, this is where I'll take a pause, and we are starting off. I think we'll be starting off from next week or the Thursday that the team will be telling us. So this is about the high level introduction and the course which we have in offer for you. So any quick questions, anything, I'm open for it now. Yeah. So you need to be equipped with SQL, Python, and these tools. So uh, we'll be starting with the installation of a few databases in your machine, which will be dviewer and all. And we start off with SQL. So you'll be given assignments, and I'll be like even guiding you on those. And thereafter, once we're done with SQL, we'll be moving towards Python, and then to the tools. Power BI, right? And all these topics which you can see in the on our website, all these will be discussing in detail. Okay. So yeah, I'll be around. If in case you have any questions, you can please ask me now, or else thanks for joining. And yes, all the sessions would be recorded. You will be getting the recorded links after every session, and even the materials will be shared across. Just to add on.
Did you mention how much this is going to cost?
The estimate would be getting back to you. Like, just give me one moment. There is one link which I'll be sharing across. If you can key in your details, the estimate team will be getting back to you with all those. Just give me one moment.